So this is a model I like to call the sticky toffee pudding model because it's STP, segmentation, targeting, and positioning. This is the classic process that you follow in developing a marketing offering. So first of all, with segmentation, you're dividing a market into distinct groups with distinct needs, characteristics, or behaviors. So you're dividing them into smaller groups, and because buyers have different wants, desires, needs, geographic locations, economic resources, buying attitudes, and buying practices, we use this process to divide markets into different pieces. So you think of the whole orange as your total addressable market. You divide the orange into its segments. These are distinctive parts that make up the whole that you can target discretely. But there's no standard way of doing segmentation. Marketers tend to use multiple combinations of variables in order to find the best way to view their target market. But there are typical kinds of variables that marketers will focus on. These major variables are geographic, so different world regions or countries, cities, different parts of geographical makeup. Second variable is demographics. That's age, gender, if it's a family unit, looking at things like family size, family life cycles to do with children growing up, leaving home, etc. Income levels, occupation, education levels, types of religion, race, different generations and different nationalities. The third variable is psychographic, and that would look at things like social class, lifestyles and personalities, so very psychological driven. Fourth is behavioral, which would include things like special occasions, benefits, attitudes towards user status, user ratings, loyalty status, purchase readiness stage, and attitudes towards and beliefs towards products and brands. So there's loads of variables available to marketers for the purposes of segmentation. And you could say, well, just pick one or two, but marketers tend to use a complex mixture of different variables in order to build segmentation. And any one business that presents its segments to you will not use the same process because the process will be very context specific and very specific to a business's own capabilities. But these are the basic broad categories of variables that are used. All segments, though, have to be measurable. They have to be accessible, so you actually have to be able to reach the people that belong to your segment. They have to be substantial enough that when they are targeted, they yield profitability. They have to be differentiable from one another, so you don't want to build segments that are easily confused. They have to be distinctive. And they have to be actionable. Now, in today's modern digital world, we have so much access to data that segmentation has become a very sophisticated process. And indeed, the power of machine learning and artificial intelligence allows us to build much narrower, more distinct segments than has ever before been possible. So it's an ever-growing and increasingly important part of marketing. Targeting is the process of evaluating each market segment's attractiveness and selecting one or more segments to enter. It's generally conducted at 4 distinct levels, and these are based on the relative size of the targeted segments. So from largest to smallest, you start with undifferentiated mass marketing, then you get differentiated segmented marketing, then you get concentrated niche marketing, then you get micro marketing at a local or individual level. So undifferentiated mass marketing is a marketing strategy where a company chooses to ignore segment differences. So their data would have told them differences between different segments, and they just go to the whole addressable market with one distinct product offering. And this type of strategy focuses on most common needs of consumers rather than what is distinctly different about them. And this was a classic strategy in the sort of early days of the contemporary marketing style, the 1950s and so on, with the goal of appealing to the largest group of buyers possible in order to create as many sales as possible. This is the classic volume tactic, Product margins are low because you're basically trying to get the lowest possible price, the highest possible turnover, and gain your profitability through scale. And the value given to the customer is really marginal as well. So modern marketers do not tend to believe in this strategy. It's quite difficult to successfully roll out a mass market campaign. Differentiated targeted marketing is more common. That's where we select several market segments, design focused products and marketing mixes for each segment with the goal of higher sales and a relatively stronger position within each individual segment. So the advantage of this is that it typically gives a company higher sales across the segment, but the increased sales tend to bring with them increased costs because you're differentiating across different markets. Basically what you're doing is you're developing and producing 10 units of 10 different products packaged in different ways potentially to different potential buyers rather than 100 units of one individual product. So it costs more to market, it costs more to package and so on, but the relative yield is higher. Then you've got concentrated marketing. That's a strategy where a firm will choose to pursue a distinctive large share of a distinctive individual segment or a very narrow range of segments that have commonalities between them. So concentrated marketing allows a company to achieve stronger market position in those segments. It allows them to gather greater knowledge of the consumers within that segment and then fine-tune towards selling towards them. That's something that you'll see often in smaller companies, market entry, companies that have much shorter on resources to do broader strategies of targeting. And finally, micro-marketing is a strategy where companies will tailor their products and their marketing mixes to the needs and wants of very specific individuals or local consumer groups. So micro-marketing generally involves consumers in the kind of luxury end of the market, and it can give consumers great value because of their involvement, and it can give the companies extraordinary value and customer equity in return because the company is getting a great deal of insight into the behaviors, attitudes, interests of their target market, and that level of feeling special and involved in the process generates a huge amount of value for the customers. Now, once you've evaluated and chosen your segment to target and worked out your targeting strategy, you've got to work on differentiation. And that is differentiating the marketing offering and creating a sense of superior value to your target market. So that's all about positioning in the market. Where in your consumer group, your targeted customer segments heads does your brand belong, and how does that communicate value? So what you've got written there, arranging for a product to occupy a clear, distinctive and desirable place relative to the competing products in the minds of targeted consumers.